Hello, nice to meet you. What is your name?
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Burkitt Lymphoma.
Burkitt what?
Burkitt Lymphoma. I am a genetic disorder. I cannot tell you what I am because it depends on what type of Burkitt lymphoma someone has. One type is endemic Burkitt lymphoma. Endemic Burkitt lymphoma is associated with malaria and EBV that most commonly infects children of Africa due to its location in the equator. If a person has endemic Burkitt lymphoma, then I infect the jaw, facial bone, small intestine, kidneys, ovaries, or breast. Sporadic Burkitt lymphoma can be found outside of Africa but very rare. Like endemic Burkitt lymphoma, I am sometimes associated with EBV. I infect the lower abdomen where the small intestine ends and the large intestine begins. Immunodeficiency-related Burkitt lymphoma, otherwise known as HIV-related Burkitt lymphoma, is associated with the use of immunosuppressive drugs used to reject HIV and AIDS. Yeah, you probably don't know me. I'm sort of a mystery, but I like to be a mystery to people.
Well, that was a mouthful. You seem to be very complicated.
It just depends on what type of person has.
Since everyone does not have you in them every day of their lives, what causes you?
I was first founded in Africa by Dennis Burkitt. That's how I got my name. Who was a British surgeon that found me in the Children of Africa in 1956. I was common in children who had malaria and Epstein-Barr, who are my partners in crime. My girl malaria is a disease carried by mosquitoes that carry parasites. Once the parasites enter the body through a mosquito bite, it attacks the liver and enters the bloodstream to destroy red blood cells. Epstein-Barr is a herpes virus 4, a form of herpes that can cause infectious mono. Epstein-Barr is the most common human virus, but I, on the other hand, am the fastest growing human tumor. We always fight on which one of us is better, but there's never a winner. Malaria, Epstein-Barr, and I work as a team in a complex human body. First, malaria weakens the human's immune system, which the human body becomes very weak when that happens, because the white blood cells find out what is causing the change and tries to fight it, but sometimes they cannot do this. Epstein-Barr responds to the weak immune system, allowing it to change me into what I am today, infected B-cell cancerous cells.
You mentioned earlier how you are a genetic disorder, and by knowledge they are inherited, right? How are you inherited?
This part gets confusing because I am so complicated, so listen carefully. You know what a chromosome is, right? Well, if you don't know what a chromosome is, it is the smallest molecule of DNA that carries chromatin. But apparently
Another mouthful, but thank you for explaining what each thing was that makes you, you. So if you were in a person's body like myself, what symptoms would occur?
Since I mentioned earlier I have 3 types of me, so symptoms may vary. If a person has endemic Burkitt lymphoma, you may experience swelling and distortion of facial bones and rapid growth of lymph nodes. If a person has sporadic Burkitt lymphoma, then your symptoms will include abdominal sweating, distortion of facial bones, night sweats, intestinal obstruction, an enlarged thyroid, and enlarged tonsils. Finally, if a person has HIV-related lymphoma, then your symptoms will include the ones of the sporadic Burkitt lymphoma.
Wow, you do a lot of damage in the body. What is your clinical description?
I am such an uncommon and rare disease that I do not have a clinical description. However, I do include limitations of fatigue, nausea, bowel problems, bladder problems, hair loss, and infection. Not only do I infect African American people, but I do infect Caucasian people. I do infect male and female because it does not matter. What matters is the level of inheritance. I have a very high life expectancy of 60 to 90% on the bright side.
How can you be cured in a person's body?
The only method to cure me is chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is a series of powerful drugs that can stop growth of rapidly dividing cells. The only types of chemotherapy that can cure me is cyclophosphamide, cytarabine, doxorubicin, etoposide, methotrexate, and vincristine.
Wow, you are very interesting. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.